What's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a great day. I think we're on part three of the Metal Masterpiece series. Yes, we're on part three. I got it right. I got one in here that's actually really controversial. That's nothing new for me, but let's not waste any time and get right into it. Okay, so starting out with the first one for this episode. I'm almost afraid to show this, but I remember Backlash. I'm just not afraid of Backlash. We got Carnifex with Hell Chose Me. You know, Carnifex to me, they kind of get lopped in there with deathcore and whatnot. And I'm not really like I used to be a big fan of deathcore. I'm not now. I'm kind of more of just your typical metalhead and whatnot that likes death metal, thrash metal, black metal, etc., power metal. Carnifex to me has always been one of my favorites in the I guess the deathcore genre, but I don't really put them in the deathcore genre. These guys to me are just more at a certain point. I think their first two albums were deathcore, but I think with this album they went death metal because they a lot of the stuff that's present in a lot of deathcore, like group shouts and hardcore elements, that's not really present here. This to me, like it has breakdowns, but then again, Dying Fetus has breakdowns, and you guys will call them death metal, but not Carnifex. But Carnifex, this album, Hell Chose Me, is a masterpiece. It's to me, this is death metal to me. I'm sorry. Even my buddy Dylan, who at Black Metal Magic, which I'm gonna put his channel down in the description, he is just he's came out and said he's a metal purist. He just does not like metalcore and whatnot, and he fucks with Carnifex because he thinks they're straight death metal, and they really are. These guys are death metal. I'm sorry, they're death metal. They get lopped in there with deathcore. They tour with deathcore. They're coming to Knoxville with Oceano, but they're playing the first album, which I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, this album, man, just freaking it rips from beginning to end, just like any death metal album would. I think my favorite song would either have to be this title track, "Hell Chose Me," because hey, I'm like that with title tracks. "Sorrow Spell" and "Entombed Monarch" are probably my favorite songs on the album. This just is a masterpiece. This to me is Carnifex's masterpiece. Now you could either argue that this is their masterpiece, or "Die Without Hope," or even "Slow Death" is their masterpiece. To me, this is kind of their masterpiece. And "Die Without Hope" and "Slow Death" are phenomenal. Even I liked "Until I Feel Nothing" as well, but this was, to me, I think the start of something great for Carnifex as a death metal band, as you guys are probably just absolutely ready to kill me right now, and that's fine. Next, we got a freaking black and death metal freaking masterpiece here, Archgoat with the Apocalyptic Triumphator. This album, man, like I've never been the biggest fan of Archgoat in the world. I like some of their stuff, but this to me is a fucking masterpiece. This made me, I guess, a fan of Archgoat. I mean, great songs on here: the Apocalyptic Triumphator, Grand Luciferian Theophany. I'm sure I probably fucking butchered that. My favorite song on the album, Nuns, Cunts, and Darkness. That the riffs on that song are just unbelievable. To me, this is just black and death metal, I think, at its best. And this to me, Archgoat, I mean, even some of the albums after this just don't hit the same as the Apocalyptic Triumphator. So yeah, just absolutely great stuff. Now this is a subgenre of black metal that I'm not really big into, which is melodic black metal. But I've always been a fan of this band. We got Nagofar with Terras. Nagofar is probably the only melodic death metal band that I've listened to that I'm actually a huge fan of. Man, you just got songs on here. I was listening to one on here earlier. What was it? Death Dimension Phantasma. Is an amazing song. This entire album is an amazing album. They had a couple. Their first album was really good, and so was their second one. And their third one, I can't remember if this is their third or their fourth album, or is this their fifth album? No, they had a third album that kind of meh. It was kind of bare bones and whatnot. But this album really kind of brought what I loved about the first two Nagofar albums. And if I remember correctly, this is the fourth one. They've not had a great album after this. I mean, some of their stuff's okay, but this to me, I think, is a masterpiece in terms of black metal. Just absolute masterpiece. It's just a great, 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 great album. We got... Now, I love almost all the same, the first three albums from this band, and everything after this album that I'm about to show by this band sucks. And Jack Grimson might agree or disagree with me, but this to me is my favorite Morbid Angel. Covenant to me is just an absolute masterpiece. Now I know what you're thinking. What about Altars of Madness? What about Blessed Are the Sick? Phenomenal albums. I own them. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the first three Morbid Angel records, but Covenant to me, I think, is the best guitar-wise, and I'm a sucker for amazing guitar riffs. I mean, Rapture, man, just the guitar, just the freaking destructive riffs in that song. That song is just evil as shit, and I absolutely adore it. It's such a great song, and the entire album is great. I think this is definitely Morbid Angel's heaviest album, and I think it's their best album. That's my personal opinion. Some of you, if you guys are Altars fans or Blessed Are the Sick fans, that's perfectly fine. I love those albums too. Got another death metal masterpiece here that pretty much spawned an entire subgenre of death metal that I'm actually not really a fan of, which is slam death metal. We got Suffocation with Effigy of the Forgotten. This album, man, is just absolutely just brutal. Yeah, I can't remember which one of the two songs. It's the first song on here that had the first ever slam riff, and that could have been something cool to me, a genre of death metal that revolved around slams, but unfortunately, the modern slam product that comes out today by pretty much every slam band is just not for me, and same with a lot of these slamming deathcore bands that come out. As the kids are calling them today. I think what pisses me off more about the slamming deathcore bands is that they like to a lot of the fan base. I'm not talking about the bands. The fan base like to shit on old stuff like this, but fucking stupid shit keeps popping up on my phone. They want to shit on old music, but without this, the stuff that they like to indulge in today wouldn't be around. Just like, I think we should all pay great respect to Black Sabbath. Even if you like Black Sabbath or you don't, you should always respect Black Sabbath. For you slam and slamming deathcore fans, just show a little bit of appreciation to Suffocation. They pretty much spawned what it is that you guys love. So yeah, but this album, man, has always been their best in my opinion. Some people say it's overrated. I disagree. I think Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten, is a masterpiece. All right, now, fans of the first 4 or 5 albums by this band, you might disagree with this, and that's fine. Metallica, And Justice for All. If you were to ask any Metallica fan, it would either be 2 albums. It would either be Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets, that's a masterpiece, or even the mainstream metal fans would probably say the Black Album. But even my friend Dylan from Black Metal Magic thinks that Kill 'Em All is their masterpiece, and I think that And Justice for All is their masterpiece. One of my favorite albums ever. The first 5 Metallica albums are phenomenal. I like some stuff off the Black Album. I could go the rest of my life without hearing Enter Sandman or Nothing Else Matters, because there's other great songs on that album. But And Justice for All, to me, it was Metallica. I would say their progressive album. Yeah, this is still a pretty thrashy album, but it's a lot heavier to me. The guitar tone's a lot thicker. The bass, you could argue with the bass. The bass doesn't bother me, but the guitar tone's a lot thicker. The songwriting, to me, feels more mature from Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. You got, One, Eye of the Beholder, Harvester of Sorrow, which is my one of my favorite songs of all time, my favorite Metallica song of all time. Blackened, the title track, Injustice for All, this is a fucking masterpiece, man. Just a masterpiece. I don't care what anybody says. All right, we got another thrash metal masterpiece here, Anthrax, Among the Living. Yeah, Anthrax, I definitely... I have the t-shirt that is of this album. It was only a matter of time before I owned the album. But Yeah, Anthrax has never really been my favorite out of the big four. They've actually always been my least favorite of the big four, but they got some good albums. Like State of Euphoria is a great one as well. The Sound of White Noise is a little different. Persistence of Time is a classic too, but I think Among the Living, a lot of people would say is overrated, but I actually would have to disagree with that. Um, Simply because I think this album just shreds the entirety of its runtime. What we got? I Am the Law. We got caught in a mosh. My mouth won't let me talk today. I don't know what's going on with me. Skeleton in the Closet, man. This is just a fucking masterpiece of thrash metal. All right, got three left. We got Hatred for Mankind by Dragged into Sunlight. You want to talk about an album that just really defines freaking extreme metal. Well, when I think of extreme metal, I mean, what would you think of when it comes to, some people would say Cannibal Corpse, some people would say Meshuggah. The first thing that pops up in my mind when I think extreme metal, for some reason, has always been this album cover. And I even remember when I came across this thing in a record store, and it was like $5, which this thing is like impossible to find nowadays. But I was so goddamn stoked when I found this. It's just death doom at its best. I think you could call it death doom, and I don't care if you think that album cover is provocative. Should be. It's extreme metal, and extreme metal attracts extreme people. So that's the way I look at it. Boiled Angel, the first track, is actually my favorite song. Just that riff is so fucking heavy. This shit, I mean, is heavier to me than any Cannibal Corpse album or any Nile album or any freaking death metal album, man. This is one of the heaviest albums I think I've ever heard. It's just so evil, so demented, and so fucking heavy. I love it. All right, we got, I think, this band's masterpiece here with Revenge, Behold Total Rejection. Just from start to finish, this album just fucking punches you in the face. And that's like that with all of Revenge's albums. And all of their stuff is good, but I think Behold Total Rejection, I don't know if I'm biased towards it because it was the first Revenge album I ever had or ever heard, and the first one I ever owned as well. But Behold Total Rejection is just like, you start out with Scum Defection, then you go deeper into the album with songs like fucking Math Death. My favorite song on the album, Mass Death Mass. Jesus Christ, I've had a long day today. Leave me alone. Just nonstop, in your face, black metal with absolutely no fucks given. Just, if you want, it's an assault on your senses, man. It's not your traditional type of Norwegian or Swedish or Finnish black metal. This is Canadian black metal, man, and it is fucking insane. This album is fucking insane, is the way to put it. And it's not for everybody. If you listen to the first song, can't get past the first song, just don't even try to go further because it's not for you. If it is for you, however, please by all means listen to it. But all right, so I am a fan of this band's all of their discography, and this is one of my favorite bands, modern death metal bands. Excuse me, one of my favorite modern death metal bands. We got I almost said Hereditary, Horrendous, and I believe you pronounce the album Anareta, however you'd like to pronounce that. I'm sure I butchered it, and I'm sure you guys will let me know that I butchered it. But this is like almost, there's some prog elements in here. No, I shouldn't say prog. It's old school death metal. It's modern death metal, but it's that old school resurgence of the resurgence of the old school style of death metal. So it's in the vein of like Morbid Angel and Deicide and fucking it's very in the vein of Obituary. I hear a lot of Obituary in this, but out of all of their, I think they've got 3 or 4 albums out, and I think this one is their heaviest and most sinister sounding. I actually ended up getting this thing in a grab bag one day, and I thought it looked like something I wouldn't like, because at the at the time I was really just into deathcore and stuff like that. But you know, my taste changed a lot since 2014, 15. Whenever I got that grab bag, I still got pretty much all the stuff that came in that grab bag. But yeah, I'm glad I held on to this. I remember listening to it when I was listening to only Die Artist Murder and Whitechapel and stuff at the time. But I remember listening to it then and thinking this was shit. And then now I listen to it and I'm thinking this thing's a fucking gem. It's a masterpiece and I just absolutely love it. But yeah, that will conclude part 3 of the Road to 100 Metal Masterpieces. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm out. Peace.